Hey everyone, it's YJ, and I am 2 years post-op top surgery. That's wild! So I had top surgery with Dr. Charles Garramone in Davie, Florida on February 14th, 2017. Valentine's Day. And it was an act of love for sure. And there was a lot of liberation in my decision to pursue top surgery or post-surgery. But there is a lot that I wanted to talk about. So to set the scene, I was living out in California at the time. I took a leave from my work to fly across the country, and I felt really alone. I didn't really have a strong support network or people that knew. I told very few people about the surgery. I called some of my best friends the night before I left, but that was about it. I think during the recovery process, which was the initial first week when I had to stay in town, there was not much I could do. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So I flew to Davie, Florida. I stayed at New Beginnings Retreat, which I have glowing respect and admiration for. So if you are considering staying somewhere, I'll link down below. But I flew in. I had my pre-op appointment. Then I had my surgery. And then I stayed there for about a week. Couldn't really do much, watched a lot of TV. I was in a lot of pain, but I didn't actually take my pain meds. I think I was just on Tylenol. I came home after 8 days, and the next day went back to work. And so, if that's at all possible, try to take more time off. And I guess I'll talk a little bit more about surgery related things, and then I'll talk about my body, and then I'll show my body. Alright. Take care of your nipples. That's gonna sound funny, but people don't talk about it, and you need to take care of your scars and your nipple grafts dually because you're healing. Also, massaging your scars really does help in concentric circles, up and down. It hurts like a bitch, but it helps break down scar tissue. I didn't use many products, but I tried quite a few. Mederma, ScarGuard, the whole deal. I will say that I made a video talking about top surgery tips. I animated the video when I was very early on in my animation, but I'm also going to link that down below for other tips. But I guess I wanted to talk more broadly about my reactions to surgery, to my new body, to going into self the past 2 years. And so with that, I've been thinking a lot about body modification as an act of liberation. And I think before surgery was even in the picture, you think about that in terms of things like hair, right? I think hair has been such a big part of my transition, whether that's bleaching it or cutting it or dyeing it. And it was never about an aesthetic or even being visibly read as queer. It was about having ownership over my body in ways that I didn't feel like I had before. And I guess the next thing that I thought of was tattoos, and that's not something that I've experienced. I don't have any tattoos, but I talked about in one of my videos on the collab channel that I was part of that my only tattoos are my scars. And I guess this video will be relatively short, but the last thing that I wanted to talk about was post-op depression. And that was something that I honestly can't remember if I read about before or if I was expecting it, but it hit me really hard. I think the first 6 weeks was just focusing on physical recovery. I was very cautious. I had to go to work. I wasn't as cautious as I should have been because I had to take the bus to work with my backpack. You're not supposed to lift anything. I had trainings where I had to move chairs, and I had to take out the garbage because my roommates didn't, and there was just a lot of maneuvering that I did that wasn't the most conducive to healing. But I think after that, it was the chest reveal or seeing myself heal and feeling so liberated. It felt like all this dysphoria, all this pain and anguish that I was feeling very physically just dissipated. And I can't describe that feeling. And so when I think and talk about liberation, that's what it felt like. But I think in waves it came grief and mourning over a body that I said goodbye to. I think I mourned the fact that I went through this experience alone. I think I mourned parts of myself that I felt like I was losing or giving up to be masculine or to have a body that I owned, right? This ownership over self versus like what I owe, what I am to other people. And there was this sense of like unfamiliarity with self too, like having to relearn your body in similar ways that when you start testosterone, like the way you work out is different. And so I was relearning self and also focusing for what may have been the first time in a really long time things other than just this physical sense of not belonging to yourself. And so I think I had to learn what ownership over self meant. And that's a real tension that I think needs to be acknowledged. I think you should give space to that, or you should expect that. Both feeling this liberation, this excitement, some people call it self-love, right? I think self-love for me started long before I had surgery, before I started testosterone. It was a love that was cultivated with a lot of hard work. And so surgery did not make me love my body. It made me feel like I owned it, that it was mine. So having those feelings, but also, acknowledging the depression you might feel, acknowledging the hurt and the sorrow and the loss and the grief, all of these, and the joy, and all these conflicting emotions, just taking that all in. And lastly, because people want to see me shirtless, I got messages that was like, send me pictures. Anyways. Alright. So these are my scars. They were very rippled at first for the first year. Maybe you can still see it a little bit, but alright, I'm gonna put my shirt back on. So I talked for 10 minutes, but I'm excited.